Grigori Rasputin, the man, the myth, the legend, or was he something else entirely? Born a peasant, he rose to have one of the most powerful and controversial roles in the Russian Empire, advising Tsar Nicholas II and Tsarina Alexandra, and wielding influence over the royal family. But how did a man known for his unholy reputation and wild lifestyle get there? And what about his bizarre, seemingly unkillable end? We're diving into the strange, fascinating, and disturbing story of the so-called Mad Monk, who may have changed Russian history forever. Grigori Yefimovich Rasputin was born in 1869 in the tiny Siberian village of Pokrovskoye. Growing up in a family of peasants, his life was far from luxurious. From a young age, Rasputin showed a rebellious streak. He was known as a troublemaker, a drinker, brawler, and as some say, a petty thief. But then, something changed. In his early 20s, Rasputin claimed to have experienced visions, religious, mystical visions that he believed were sent by God. These visions led him to leave home and embark on a journey across Russia as a wandering monk and mystic. As he traveled, Rasputin gained followers and attention for his supposed healing abilities and his charismatic, almost hypnotic personality. He claimed he could cure the sick, calm the troubled, and most importantly, help people find salvation. But Rasputin's idea of salvation was, let's say, unconventional. He preached that sin was a necessary step on the path to redemption. To him, one had to sin deeply to be truly forgiven, and his followers took that advice seriously. By 1905, Rasputin had made his way to St. Petersburg, Russia's bustling capital. Word of his powers and strange charisma had spread, and he was introduced to the Russian elite. In this world of nobility and luxury, Rasputin stood out, a scruffy, intense man with piercing eyes claiming to have direct insight from God. He caught the attention of the most important woman in Russia, Tsarina Alexandra. Tsarina Alexandra was desperate. Her son Alexei, the only heir to the Russian throne, suffered from hemophilia, a blood disorder that left him on the brink of death with any minor injury. Traditional doctors could do little to help. Enter Rasputin. To the amazement of the royal family, when Rasputin prayed over Alexei, the boy's symptoms seemed to ease. Whether it was coincidence, psychological influence, or actual healing is still debated. But to Alexandra, Rasputin was nothing short of a miracle worker. Soon, he was more than just a healer. He became the Tsarina's most trusted advisor. As Rasputin's influence over the Tsarina grew, so did his power within the Russian Empire. Alexandra believed Rasputin was a holy man sent to guide the royal family. She even began consulting him on political matters, especially when Tsar Nicholas was away commanding troops during World War I. But Rasputin's influence was far from holy. Rumors spread of his late-night drinking, womanizing, and wild parties. In public, he acted as a holy man. In private, he embraced a life of excess. And the Russian people noticed. Stories began circulating in the newspapers, hinting at Rasputin's debauchery and alleged affairs with noble women, and even implying an affair with Tsarina Alexandra herself. These rumors, while unproven, fueled public resentment against both Rasputin and the royal family. He was seen as a corrupting force, manipulating the monarchy, with whispers that he was leading the empire to ruin. Nobles and officials begged the Tsar to sever ties with Rasputin, but Alexandra refused to listen. In her mind, he was her family's only hope. As public outrage grew, a group of nobles and politicians decided that Rasputin had to go. They feared that his influence over the Romanovs would bring down the Russian Empire. The plan was led by Prince Felix Yusupov, who invited Rasputin to his palace on the night of December 29, 1916. There they offered him cakes and wine laced with cyanide. But to everyone's shock, Rasputin didn't die. After consuming enough poison to kill several men, he simply continued eating and drinking, seemingly unaffected. Desperate, Yusupov and his conspirators moved to Plan B. They shot him. Rasputin fell, but when Yusupov leaned in to check, Rasputin's eyes flew open and he lunged forward. The conspirators shot him again and again, but even that wasn't enough. They finally bound his body, threw him into the icy Neva River, and watched as he was carried away by the current. When his body was recovered days later, his lungs were filled with water, suggesting he was still alive when he hit the water. Rasputin's life was shrouded in mystery, but perhaps nothing is as eerie as his prophecy about his own death. He warned Tsarina Alexandra in a letter saying, "If I am killed by common men, you and your children will rule Russia for centuries. But if I am killed by nobles, the royal family will be dead within 2 years." Rasputin's prophecy seemed to foretell his own fate. He was indeed murdered by noblemen, and within months the Russian Empire fell. Was it clairvoyance, intuition, or a dark twist of fate? Rasputin's death didn't end the rumors. It only made him a legend. People wondered, who was Rasputin really? Was he a healer, a madman, or a master manipulator? His death did little to save the Romanovs. Just over a year later, the Russian Revolution would sweep across the country, ending in the fall of the monarchy and the deaths of the entire royal family. Many blame Rasputin's influence as a catalyst, a symbol of how disconnected the monarchy had become from the Russian people. Even today, Rasputin's story is told and retold in books, movies, and songs. His reputation as a mystic, healer, and debaucherous mad monk continues to fascinate. So who was Rasputin? A man of faith who helped a royal family in need, a power-hungry manipulator who knew how to play his cards, or perhaps just a man swept up by forces beyond his control? The truth may be forever lost in the shadows of history, but one thing is certain: Grigori Rasputin was a man who could not be ignored, a man who survived more than anyone thought possible, and who, in the end, took his secrets to the grave. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the life and legend of Rasputin. If you enjoyed this story and want to learn more about fascinating historical figures, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you won't miss any of our future videos.